We are on. All right. Today I have Bernadette with me. And first of all, let me apologize for not being present on the live for the last 2 months. It's just that I took a month off and then it took me a whole month to get back on it. So I'm hoping that with Bernadette, I'm going to start another a long chain of lives again. Welcome, Bernadette.
Thank you very much for having me this week on your return trip to your return to the chatting world.
Yes, yes. So Bernadette has been, we have been in contact for many, many years outside of Substack. And in fact, Bernadette came over to Substack because of me. Because before we try that, I can say I brought her on to Substack. But before we get onto Substack and her journey on Substack and other things she has been doing, and of course her book, I want to talk about your life before you retired, because that's going to be the focus. Retirement is going to be the focus for today's talk. So tell us, what were you doing before, Bernadette, and how it panned out for you?
Well, welcome everybody. I see people are joining. Thank you very much for joining us. So yeah,
Mm.
I had a very non-traditional career. I went into marine engineering. In 1985, I was a technical illustrator. And in those days, if you wanted to do that, if you wanted to continue doing that, you needed to do some sort of computer work. So I was looking around for a program, and there was no standalone programs. And so I went to the Marine Institute in Newfoundland, and I ended up enrolling in the marine engineering program because the head of the department was so compelling, telling me what a great future I would have and what a great career I
Mhm.
would have. And he was absolutely right. And so, yes, I
Mhm.
worked in the marine industry off and on because it did take some dips, right? Like every career. I worked in
Mm.
that industry for over 25 years, and I worked about 10 years in the medical device field as well. So in between, I had a bit of a career because the shipyard, because in Canada, and like many countries, shipbuilding, has its ebbs and flows.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so it was, finding something else to do
Mhm.
was a bit difficult, but I reoriented into the medical device field. But that
Mhm.
in the marine industry was I mean, it was absolutely, the best thing that ever happened to me going and doing it. And it was difficult though. I mean, when I first started, the first jobs that I had, we were like 4,000 people in the shipyard where I worked, and there were less than 100 women. So you can imagine, it's like a little small city with mostly men and 100 or so women. And the first ships that I started working on were warships, were destroyers.
Mhm.
In those days, the Canadian Navy were refurbishing their 4 destroyers. And
Mhm.
that program, when we were only 4 women allowed to go on board those ships. So you had
Okay. So you had to go on board as well.
Oh, yes, I spent, many years of my career actually on board a ship, whether as an inspector, and early on as a piping designer. I started as
Mhm.
a designer, and that's most of the reason why I spent a lot of time on the ship in the dry dock. This would be in the dry dock. And
Mhm.
then, of course, there's all kinds of things. There's trials, sea trials that you have to go on afterwards once a ship is finished. So I participated in those, but for the most part, I worked in the shipyard, either as a
Mhm.
designer or contract administrator, and I
Mhm.
spent time at sea doing inspections as well. Like when a ship
Mhm.
would go on a specific route, I would go. So yeah, it's a very, very, very long and varied career.
Mm, that's brilliant. So you were in that industry for how many years?
About 30 years, all in all.
30 years
Yeah,
on
about
and
30
off.
years.
Okay, and plus 10 years in the medical device industry.
Exactly. So it's about I would say it's about 28 in the marine industry and 10, so 38 altogether.
Okay, so almost 40-year career, which most of people have. And then comes the retirement.
Then comes retirement, and we're
Yeah.
we spend so much time planning for it, I think, financially, and
Mm.
I think we're kinda distracted a lot in the financial side of it, and then
Mm-hmm.
one day it's you're retired, and then it's like, "Well, what do I do now?" Because what
Yeah.
happens is, like, retirement is a very
Mhm.
it's a work status. right? It really means you stop working because there's nobody,
Mhm,
there's nobody
mhm,
going to retire from that if they
mm,
weren't working. So it's really the work status, but I don't
mhm,
really fully encompasses the human transition, the transition you go through
mhm,
if you maybe weren't really expecting it, or you thought it
mhm,
was sort of an arrival and you'd figure it all out. That the answers would come the day you retire.
mm. Yeah, and the thing is that previously, like previous to our generation, retirees would live for about 10 maximum years, 10, 12 years, and then they will be gone. But
So,
our generation is thriving in those last decades of our lives, in fact. Um,
absolutely.
so and I know you wrote the book uh, on that topic, navigating life after work. Yeah, show us, please.
I'm
Navigating
so
life
proud
after
with
work,
with a foreword by Nira.
of course. And in there, you have talked about this very problem that our generation have not got any blueprint before us to follow what to do in these years.
Exactly.
And as you said, most of the people they work on the financial side. So if they are financially sound, now they don't have to work for money. They have all this time. What happens? Tell me what happens to them.
Exactly. Now I want to just go back to one thing you just said, which is this longevity in retirement. I mean,
Mm,
today, you're in your 60s. If you take your retirement at 60, between 60 and 65, you've probably got at least another 25 to 30 years to live. And if you're in good health, those years will be
mhm,
spent in good health. So
mm,
I will have almost half of my working life in
mm,
retirement. So that's a pretty sobering thing when you think, even from a financial perspective, I have to support myself for the next 20, 25 years. But the reality is, you in most of the careers, like the career you had, like the career I had, we were constantly moving up a ladder and having
mm,
more and more pressure on us for one thing, but more and more
mm,
responsibility. So from one
mhm,
the next, you've spent probably 20 years building that career, the last 20 years, I'm saying that that's where you're given the most responsibility. And then the next
mm,
step, you take your retirement, like, where does all that
mm,
responsibility go? All that problem-solving ability, all those everything that you've learned, like, it has nowhere to go. And you're absolutely right that when you retire, that there's so much to learn, and this has been a real journey for me because I had no idea. You mentioned that our parents, so even maybe 15 years
mm,
ago, people
mm,
were
mm,
right, they maybe had a 10 or 15 good years. Well, they never
mm,
thought about maybe going back to work. Some did, but today
mm,
it's like we have this potential. Honestly, I
mm,
think potential, and this is what I didn't realize in the beginning, and what this whole journey has made me realize is how much potential we have when you retire. Like, if you look at,
mm,
there's so many things we can do. We have this
mm.
years of us, and so I think that's for me. It's what started to happen. I started looking at more as a potential rather than a handicap or something that I wasn't.
Yeah, that's such a good point. That's just good point because I want to tell you something personal here. I have my father-in-law living with us. Now, means we had both parents before, but my mother-in-law passed away at the age 80. My mother passed away at the age 81. Uh, and my father passed away at the age 84. But my father-in-law, he's 98 years old and he is in perfect health. His mental faculties are perfect. He remembers everything. He's eating well. He's walking erect. Um, and he is very much in tune with the life and the people and the technology, even. So he does his banking on the phone. I still don't do that.
Wow.
Uh, but yesterday he was telling me he has spent more years in retirement than the years working. So he worked 40 plus years, and now he's been in retirement for 42 years. And the thing is, what worries me and surprises me is in these years, of course, from the playing with the grandchildren and uh, doing bit of like minding them after work, after school, in the early years of his retirement, he's done nothing. The only thing he does is watch TV and read books. Now, reading is becoming a bit more strenuous now, but still, he goes through a novel every week. He watches lots of TV, and he's on YouTube and WhatsApp talking to his um, grandchildren and his children in India and friends, whosoever is left, and his extended family. And here I'm thinking, 42 years of doing nothing. I can't do that. And that is because he had no blueprint before him
Yeah.
uh, to what to do. This is what his generation did:
Yeah.
sit at home,
Yeah.
with retire, eat, and watch TV.
Yeah.
And before him, there wasn't even any TV. So people would just sit in the street watching people passing by, and that's how to spend their time. But our generation has got a new challenge. We need to figure out what to do in our retirement years. And we are also raised different way. We have been on the go, go, go from the right uh, through our teen years. Many of us has been working uh, in our teenage. And if you take the work out of our lives, we have nothing to look forward to.
Yeah.
So how do you tackle this in your book?
I tackle it. It's funny how you that initially this to me, I thought it was several different books because I had a bunch of stories. This is how this started with you and I had to propose to you because you mentioned this to me some time ago that I should write a book. And I started to jot down some ideas and I showed them to you and you said, "Bernadette, that's not 8 books. That's one book with 8 chapters and a beginning and an end." So,
Mm-hmm.
and the way I tackle it is it's my own personal journey. So those stories, the sort of the 8 chapters that really are basing the this time in my life, it has been a bit of a journey for me too.
Mm-hmm.
Took my
Mm-hmm.
in 2023. The first
Mm-hmm.
year was very confusing. I realized a lot of things. I started looking at the way I was approaching this, and I realized everything I was doing was a process. Every time I started, it seemed like it was a process. I was trying to do something. So how I
Mm-hmm.
in my book was is through personal stories. I explain a process that I have called the reset method, RESET, and each of those letters stands for something. So first one is reclaim the goal. The R's reclaim the goal, and that's to know where you are and who you are. The next one is
Mm-hmm.
near the exit. So whatever it is you're leaving, you have to almost bless it and leave it behind. You have to get used to that because there's things that have happened probably in your job situation or whatever, your career. You can't go back and do anything about it. You just gotta turn the page, right? The next one is strategize the season. So whatever process we're in, we strategize what is the next season. It could be the next 2 months, it could be the next month, it could be the next year. We have to put some plan in place, and it can be a loose plan because that is
Mm-hmm.
definitely things that's happening when you're in your 60s is that things can change fast. You could be in really good health one day. That is definitely something you have to take into consideration. You can be really
Mm-hmm.
good one day and then something literally the next day could happen. So you
Mm-hmm.
to have a flexible plan. Um, the the other E is extend the brand. Now, by that I mean knowing who you are. There's many things that you can take with you into this retirement life. So whatever wisdom, discernment, whatever things, and you can leave a lot behind, but you can bring a lot with you too that you could take forward with you. And then using that process, you transition. You transition to something. Now, whether that something be like I said, I honor anybody who says all I want to do is play golf 3 days a week and read.
Mm-hmm.
If that is what you plan to do and that is what you want to do, go for it. But then there are other people like me that are like thinking, yes, I can play golf. I do play golf. I look after my grandkids, but that's not a full life for me. A full life for me involves some sort of work, whether that be paid work or volunteer work. It requires
Yeah.
me to work. And I think that's our God-given gift to work. Like, we have a skill, we have some sort of a gift that each of us has that we can put to good use. Now, whether that be for monetary exchange or whether it be for volunteering of some sort, but I still go back to what I said initially, which is, you know, probably the same thing, you've been through too, is that when you embark on your retirement, I don't think we're told enough that there's still a lot of potential here. Even if it's just 5 years, 10 years that you wanted to maybe just continue working or something, if that's what you want, it's not for everybody.
Mhm.
But I love working. I still love doing something now. I love doing it for my I do some work for my association, but I also am doing my own thing. So it gives
Mhm.
me Wendy Charles, a friend of mine, says, "Purpose is peace." When you have a purpose, that gives you peace. And if all of us had a purpose in life, there probably would be a lot more peace. It's because
Mhm.
not at peace with ourselves. So I strive with my little
Mhm.
process here that I've used, over and over to come
Mhm.
to some sort of peace for myself.
Mm. Yeah, I like that. I like that purpose is peace. Yeah, because I think there is a lot of work done and in psychology, there's a lot of books written about that. That we human are the kind of animals who need purpose in their lives. We cannot wander around like other animals on the planet and just care about eating, reproducing, and being there.
Exactly.
We need a bigger purpose. Every life doesn't matter how well, every life is insignificant, but every life, it doesn't mean your purpose needs to be grand. It
No.
could be a small purpose. To even to tend your garden could be your purpose. And but we all need one.
Yep.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yes. Very true.
So how can someone who is retired or about to retire and has got no clue what they're going to do in those years can find purpose in their life, in their
Well,
retired?
yeah, and I think I do talk from in my book, of course, I use a maritime metaphor, which is getting your bearings. I think the very first thing you need to do is to take a really good, cold, hard look at where you are and whether
Mhm.
you're satisfied or not with your life, and that can take on many forms. Once
Mhm.
you know where you are, you have a compass in your hand and it's pointing you in some direction. Like, if you just listen long enough, listen,
Mhm.
and I say in my book to sit in a little bit of uncomfortableness long enough to listen to what that's saying to you. Because sometimes
Mhm.
it's saying your career was for whatever reason, maybe it's your home situation, there's something steering you. It's probably always been there. And I think that's
Mhm.
right now, for me, what's happening is that I'm listening to that little voice. I kinda drowned it out for so long. I
Mhm.
time to listen to it. For me, now, it's art. It's creating something, and it's not art for artist's sake, like to sell or to become an artist. It's art for me. It's you doing something with my hands, creating something, painting and rug hooking and doing
Mhm.
all kinds of things. But I think back to your original question is what can we do? I think sometimes I think you just gotta just let it sit first, but also know
Mhm.
that sitting and drifting are not what's like there's a time for reflection, but there's also time for movement. So
Mhm.
when these things start coming back to you again, I should be doing something. I'm not doing enough with my life. I should move. I should be on doing something. This is not enough. When those questions keep coming back to you, you know that there's something inside of you has yet to be expressed. And I think
Mhm.
that's one of the things when we're working is we don't listen enough to that little voice, but that little voice
Mhm.
has always been there. For some people
Mhm.
to be continuing working, for some people it's going to be picking up a cause that they always liked. Others it's going to be like me, it's going to be art and writing. Other people it's
Mhm.
going to be tending a garden. It's what it's those little secret dreams. I always call it a little secret garden. We all have a little secret garden in our heads. The
Mhm.
ask somebody, "What's their ideal day?" Just dream about what your ideal day is. That will
Mhm.
give you some clues. Will definitely give you some clues as to what life you really want.
Yeah, that's a first of all, it's a great metaphor. The secret garden. We all have secret garden in us. Great metaphor. And the second is that listening to yourself and thinking what it might lead to, and probably in my case, this is what happened. It led to something I wanted to do as a child and never got around to do it because I was to start earning money and raise family and things like that. So reading and writing were my passion growing up, and that's what emerged um, in my retirement. In my retired, in fact, I retired early so that I can pursue those passions. So you also coach, Bernadette, and you help people figure out what to do in their retirement. And you have done that with many people. Can you give us one example how you work with people, which you have done in the past?
Yes,
Someone.
absolutely. One of the things that I'm starting to offer more now is a 2-session series.
Oh.
So the for 2 90-minute, sessions. So the first session, I get you to fill out a questionnaire, and that basically,
Mm-hmm,
like I said, that's the compass is just freshly put in your hand. So where is it turning? What is it doing? You're gonna answer some questions, but you have to do this on your own. I will go
mm-hmm,
through the questions with you, and then maybe as
mm-hmm,
talking, some ideas come down. But that first
mm-hmm,
session, hour and a half, we talk
mm-hmm,
where you are in life. The one of the people that comes back to me is somebody who is so terrified of retiring that she's just started to cry when I was talking to her. Like, she's so terrified, but terrified is the money part is one thing, but, like, but what am I gonna do? Like, how can I just what am I gonna do with all my time? It was just
mm-hmm,
overwhelming for her. So we go through
mm-hmm,
what are the biggest fears? What are the things that, and what are the
mm-hmm,
things you put aside when you were a child? What kinds of things? So I go through a lot of the things you put aside mostly as you were
mm-hmm,
going, and also, what
mm-hmm,
does the word retirement bring up for you? Because that is one of the
mm-hmm,
things I've discovered over the past couple of months
mm-hmm,
is that that
mm-hmm.
word is so thin. It's thin, it's pressed flat, right? And
Yeah.
writers, like, we know the power of words, right, Nira? Like, you can when you're writing something and you choose the right word, it can bring up so many emotions in you. So I think the word retirement, we need to retire that word. It has to be
Oh,
called
yeah.
what we're
We
living
need another word.
what we're living today is not our parents' retirement, and even the word, I think, just doesn't do it justice
Mhm,
anymore. So, but just getting back to that, so I go through that, then I take the answers from the person, and I look at it, and I don't wanna say I'm a therapist or I'm a but I've lived through this, so I can see sort of where the pitfalls are, or maybe it's a financial question. So I get people to really look at their finances. Like, there are a lot of really great books out there on how to, plan, so I
mhm,
can offer maybe as that's a personal interest of mine, financial planning. So I look at that and I go, okay, well, you might be good for you to read this book, or this might be good for you to read. But that second session, we go through the answers, and I've gone through, like I said, the reset program thing myself. I've come up with some suggestions for them on how they can reclaim their goal, and
mhm,
strategize
mhm,
this season, and then turn
mhm,
it into something else. But it's an
mhm,
ongoing process, and so the person has to be ready for this as well. It's not just that
mhm,
I need to come up with something. This has got to be a plan, and
mm,
if you wanna stop sort of drifting, as I say, and really wanna, set your bearings to get someplace, then you just gotta take the first step. So it's a
mm,
conversation, it's 2 conversations actually, but the first one is you tell me things, and the second one is more, this is my
mhm.
suggestion to you, what I think.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you telling me someone you were coaching and they were retired for a year, had a good time for a few months, and then slowly, and this person was a lawyer, I think, and
Yes,
she was very high fly lawyer. And after a few months, she started feeling the gap, but she was paralyzed to do something with it. So
exactly.
tell me a bit more. Tell us a bit more about that story.
It's a very good example of women who leave very, very high performance careers. Um,
Mhm.
when you're leaving a high performance career like she did, um,
Mhm.
there's things, in some professions, there's things you can and can't do. In her
Mm.
case, she was not allowed to practice law anymore. That was
Mm.
the exit that she had because the job
Oh.
was so high profile that had she gone anywhere else, it could have maybe, anyway, there was a clause in the contract that said she couldn't practice law anymore. So for her
Mm.
was to turn around now to find something with all these skills, with all this experience, with, putting so many things in place. So we talked
Mm.
and I suggested and we came up to with a plan for her that although she couldn't practice law anymore, she knows what fraud is. She knows what
Mm.
audit is. And so I said, we need to find you something now where you can use those skills and put those skills to
Mm.
use on people who don't know the depth of what and how to discover and deal with fraud. So the skills
Mm.
we just transformed them into something else. But one of the
Mhm.
told her that she had to be very careful of this. She was so used to being the top. She was so used to being that person, who
Mm.
not
Mm.
controlled everything, but had had her finger on the pulse of everything. I said, now when you go back at this level, you're gonna have to bring down that responsibility as well. Like you don't want the responsibility anymore. So don't over don't go back to being a lawyer. You have to now stay in your role as an advisor or something like that. So it definitely is a transition. But yeah, it can be very difficult when you want to for her, yeah, she retired early. I mean, and
Mm.
it's something that uh,
Mhm.
it's going to go through a different transition, but for her it was yeah, the first year was fine, like a lot of people who take the retirement. First year's great. And then all of a sudden it's like, this the days are really long. Tuesday becomes the morning and weeks just pass by. So
Mm. Now she has found her purpose.
she's well on her way to finding she's very, very relieved as well because she had not even thought
Mm.
about something like this. She thought it was
Mhm.
that, it was black or white. And I'm like,
Mm.
no, no, you could be in the middle. You could be in the gray area as well.
Mm. Oh, well, we have only 3 minutes remaining. And I'm going to ask you now about your book. Can you first tell us how you came up with the idea of writing a book? Because it's not everybody's cup of tea. And how was your process? How did you go through the writing of this book? And in the process, finding your purpose, maybe, or you had your purpose before and you wrote the book? Tell us
I had
about it.
no I had no purpose, Nira. This book came about, like I said, a bunch of stories that I had had floating around in my head, wondering how I was ever going to be able to tell them to anybody. But really, it was an encounter with you, and you had
Mhm.
said you're starting up a 30-day book writing, like you write your book in 30 days, and I'm like, I've got to do this because these stories have to come out. And for me, the way I did it was, which is maybe not typical for everybody, but I have an application on my phone that I can talk into for 90 minutes. So
Mhm.
I would have my notes. I would look at my notes just before I went out for my walk, and then I would just
Mhm.
dictate stuff into my phone. And I'd come back and I'd edit it up and I would just make it into something. So in the 30 days I had written about 18,000 words. So I was so committed to doing it. For me, it was cathartic. It
Mhm.
gave me it I didn't have a purpose before, but it gave me a purpose. I know that
Mhm.
there are other women out there feel like I do, and that is
Mhm.
what it's about. I thought I was the only one going through this, and I realized afterwards there's so many of us going through it.
Oh my God. What a great way of finding a purpose is writing your what's what's bothering you, what's the stories which keeps coming back to you and you want to tell those
Yes.
and writing a book of turning that into a book and then finding your purpose in that process. Wonderful. Loved it. So that's probably about time we have on the live. Uh, Thank you very much for coming, Bernadette, and sharing your story and your book. Your book is available on Amazon.
It's on Amazon, navigating that's probably backwards here, I maybe on your screen, but navigating life after work, and
Yeah,
it's the five-step reset framework to reflect, reorient, and rediscover yourself after retirement.
wonderful. So people can buy that, and you also have a Substack.
Substack as well under my own name and Navigating Life After Work, NLAW.
Okay. So that's where the NLAW comes from. All right. And next is you are also on LinkedIn.
I am. I've been on LinkedIn for many years,
Mhm.
under my own name as well, Bernadette Broderick. You can find me on LinkedIn there too.
Wonderful. So anybody who wants to contact you with help with retirement or want to get their book can reach you, get it from Amazon. And I wish you all the success with your endeavors in your retirement, which we need another word for.
Absolutely.
Uh,
I've got a suggestion, but I'm not going to reveal it just yet.
okay. All right. Let's do it in future. One of the future lives we are going to do it. All
Perfect.
right. Thank you very much for your time and
Thank you, Nira.
see you. See you then. Bye
Bye.
bye.